Good morning, grade 5s. Today we'll be doing converting units of measurement for length. Before we get started, I need you to take out your individual whiteboards and markers because you will be using them during this lesson. As I mentioned, we will be discussing the conversion of units in length. We will be using the units millimeter, centimeter, meter, and kilometer. By the end of the lesson, you will be able to successfully convert any one of these 4 units, being millimeter, centimeter, meter, and kilometer, of measurement to another unit. What is length? Length is the measurement of something from end to end, or the distance between 2 places. For instance, one end of a book to the next end of the book, or a distance from me to the end of the hallway. Units of measurement that we will be using, as discussed earlier, is millimeter, centimeter, meter, and kilometer. What do we use to measure these? As you will remember from grade 4, is we use the ruler, the meter stick, tape measure, and the trundle wheel. There are other unit tools for measurement, but these are the ones you are most familiar with. Now, before we get started on the conversion of measurements, let's do some revision from grade 4. What tool would you use to measure the length of a book? Can anyone tell me? What unit of measurement would we use for a book? That being centimeter, millimeter, kilometer, or meter? Yes, we would use a ruler and the centimeter unit. We could also use the millimeter. That is not incorrect. We could actually use any one, but most commonly we would use the centimeter. What tool would we use to measure the length of a door? What unit of measurement would we use for a door? Could anybody tell me? Correct. We would use a measuring tape and the meter unit. Now, how do we convert units? We find the unit that is known. So, if you get a problem and it tells you convert 23 centimeters to millimeters, the unit that is known as the centimeter, and you would use this method, centimeter to millimeter, to find the answer. So we will take the 23 centimeters and times it by 10, and we would get the answer of the millimeters. That would be 230 millimeters. So we find the answer that is known to us and multiply or divide it by multiples of tens, 100s, 1000s, or even more. Now, when would this be more? If I asked you to convert a kilometer to millimeters, it would be more than 1000. It would be 1000 times 100 times 10. So what you would do is you would just add the zeros. So here's 3 zeros, you would add these 2 zeros, and then it will become 100,000. And then you would add this one last zero, and it will become 1 million. So you would times the kilometer by 1 million to get millimeters. And you would do the same going backwards. From millimeters to kilometers, you would divide by 1 million. Let's take a look at some examples. I have 1 centimeter and I want to convert it to millimeters. So we take 1 centimeter and we times it by 10. As you can see here, it's been done for you. 1 times 10 equals 10 millimeters. 1 kilometer, we will times by 1000 to get the meters. So it's 1000 meters. 10 millimeters to centimeters. If we look here, we've got millimeter divided by 10, and we will get the centimeter. That would be 1 centimeter. 1000 meters to kilometers. 1000 meters divided by 1000 to get the kilometers is 1 kilometer. 1 kilometer to centimeter. Now remember, this is when we add the zeros. So we're going to go 1 kilometer to a meter would have 3 zeros, but we need centimeters, so we would jump 1 more, and that will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 zeros. That would be 100,000 divided by it'll be 1 kilometer times 100,000 equals 100,000 centimeters. Now, before we move on to the next one, I want you all to stay in your groups and copy this diagram down on a piece of paper. Only one person per group needs to do it because you will be using it in groups later on. Okay, now we're going to do some word problems. Mia walks to her grandmother every Sunday afternoon. Mia's grandmother lives exactly 2.4 kilometers away from her house. How many meters is the distance from Mia's house to her grandmother's house? 2.4 kilometers times 1,000 to get the meters. Now remember to use your decimal points. If you forget your decimal point, your answer will be incorrect. You would say 24,000 instead of 2,400. So always read your problems carefully. So 2.4 times 1,000 is 2,400. Mia's house is 2,400 meters from her grandmother's house. Question 2. The class measured the door with their measuring tape today. The door is 2 meters tall. Mrs. Yukio asked the class to convert it to millimeter. What should their answer be? So they're going to take 2 times 1,000 to get the answer for millimeter. Can anyone tell me what the answer is? Correct. It is 2,000 millimeters. Now for question 3, I want you to do it on your whiteboard. Coach Kippen measured the boys' shot put distance. The longest distance was 5.3 meters. How many centimeters is that? So now, do it by yourselves. But before you start, can anybody tell me how much you times meters with to get centimeters? Correct. That is 100. And remember, there is a decimal point. You can do it on your own. Okay, so now you're going to practice in your groups, the groups that you're seated at, and you're going to do the following 6 problems. 24 kilometers to a meter, 3.56 meters to millimeters, 678,000 millimeters to centimeters, 304 centimeters to kilometers. Remember adding the zeros. 932,000 centimeters to meters, 3.87 kilometers to centimeters. I'll give you some time to do this by yourselves. When you are done, please come to me from my desk and we will carry on. Okay, I see everyone did very well with doing their own problems in the groups. So we are carrying on. Why do we learn about conversions? I'm sure some of you think that this is something you would never ever use. But we convert between units to make it easier to read the number. Remember just now when I accidentally said 9,000 instead of 900,000? Yes, it's for situations like this. If a number has too many zeros, it can become difficult to read at first glance. So instead of saying something is 1,053,000 centimeters away, they could convert that to kilometers and it will be 10 kilometers and some change. Well done, grade 5s. You have reached the end of your lesson and you have done very, very well. I think everyone deserves an extra 5-minute break. But let's just summarize everything we went through. We saw that you use tools of measurement to measure length and distance. That is how we get our known unit. And we can take our known unit and we can convert that unit of measurement to a different unit of measurement. And how do we do that? We convert it by using multiplication and division to get that answer. Thank you so much for listening to my lecture today.